Hey guys, in this tutorial we're going to be building an HTML5 responsive website from scratch. And before we begin, let me just say that this video is going to be geared towards beginners. I've been doing a lot of videos on advanced frameworks with Angular 2 and Vue.js and so on, but I wanted to start to include videos for the beginner. Many of you have probably seen my Web Development 2017 guide, where I made some suggestions about where to start to learn web development and web design, and I realized that I don't have much for the absolute beginner. So we're going to go over the HTML5 semantic tags and HTML in general and build a fairly decent small website for a web design company. Alright, so I tried to keep the markup and the styling as simple as possible. There's no frameworks or libraries, just straight HTML5 and CSS3. Alright, so let's go over what we'll be building. It's a fictional website for a fictional company called Acme Web Design, and it's not the best layout. I'm not the best designer, but I think it looks decent. So it has a basic 3-color scheme. We have this grayish blue, this orange color, and then the light gray throughout the site. Alright, and it's a 3-page site. I didn't want to make this too long, so I didn't add too many pages. Basically, we have a header at the top with the branding. This is a H1 tag, but it could be a logo. You could easily put an image in there. We have a simple menu with an active state and a hover state. Right here we have a showcase area with a background image that could be easily changed. It has an H1 tag and then a paragraph. Alright, and you can obviously add buttons or other stuff in here as well. You could put a little form, whatever you'd like. Under that we have this newsletter section with a heading and then just a simple request form that they could put their email in. Now this form isn't going to work. We're not doing any back-end programming. It's just just the display form. And then under that we have three separate areas with 3 different images. Now I would suggest using something like Font Awesome and using some icons, but I didn't want to get into any kind of third-party libraries or anything, so these are just straight images that we're going to include here. Alright, so we just have the image, the heading, and then a little paragraph, and then a very, very simple footer with copyright text. Alright, so that's the home page, very simple. I want to keep this really short, so feel free to add more to it if you'd like. So the About page, again, very simple. We still have the header. We're still using the newsletter part, but notice we took out the showcase. And then this is the main area. We basically have a main column and a sidebar. This just has some basic about text, and then just a little blurb here on the side in the sidebar. Okay, very, very simple. Services page has the same kind of layout as the About page, as any other inner page that you add. We just have some services, which is a UL, which we'll style a little bit, and then a get a quote form on the side here. Alright, so you can see it's very, very simple. Now, one really nice thing about this is that this is completely responsive. So if I go and I start to make this smaller, so when it hits right about there, it turns into basically a mobile site. Okay, so this is what it would look like on a tablet. And you can see it's laid out pretty nicely. If we go smaller, that's around the size it would be on a smartphone. Okay, so notice that the header has changed. There's no more floats. We have the menu directly below the logo. The showcase area looks pretty nice. The newsletter form, no more floats. We have the header, and then we have the form. The button is now a block that goes full width. These are all lined up nicely. If we click on About, okay, see the newsletter form is nicely formatted. We have the page. Now the sidebar is no longer floated. It's directly underneath the main column. Okay, same thing with the services. We have the UL, and then we have the quote form down at the bottom. Alright, so pretty simple. I think it's a good example for beginners to start to learn how to add the HTML5 semantic tags and a little bit of CSS3 as well. Alright, so if you don't know anything about the HTML5 semantic elements or semantic tags, basically they were created to let the browser know what content is where. So for instance, we have the header tag. Obviously you have some common things that you would stick in the header, the logo, things like that. The nav tag is obviously for navigation. We have the A side, which is for sidebar content, which is basically secondary content. Section, which is the main area, main content. Article, which is used mostly for things like blog posts. Footer has things that you would stick in a footer. Alright, so these are the main semantic tags. So you might want to take a look at this page from W3 Schools, which is really helpful. Alright, we're going to be using most of these in this template. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up my editor. I'm using Atom, which is a really nice open source editor. I would recommend it if you don't have something that you prefer already. Alright, now I'm going to just be developing right on my local machine. We're going to create a folder, and I'm going to call this Acme. We'll just call it Acme. Okay, and then we're going to first create our index.html page, which is our home page. Okay, we're also going to create a folder for our CSS files, which we're only going to have one, and then a folder for our images. All right. Now I will include a link to the files, and that'll include the images as well. We're just going to have basically the showcase image and then these three icon images here. I believe, yeah, that's the only images that we're going to have. So let's go ahead and open up the index page. Inside of Atom, I'm going to just open up that folder, which is on my desktop. Alright, so let's open up index.html. And with Atom, we're able to just say HTML tab, and that'll give us kind of a boilerplate for a simple HTML file. Gives us the doc type, which is HTML5, our HTML tags, our head tags, body tags. We have the character set, which is set to UTF-8, and then the title tag. Alright, so let's go ahead in the title, and we'll say Acme Web Design, and usually you want to have some kind of reference to what page this is. It's the home page, so we'll just say welcome. Alright, next thing we'll do is link our CSS file, which I haven't created yet, but we will. So let's say link. We're going to give it a rel attribute, let it know that it's a style sheet, and then the href will point to it. So we're going to say ./css/style.css. Alright, and while we're at it, let's create that. So in the CSS folder, we're going to say new file and style.css. Okay, so next thing we should take care of is our meta tags. Now, we're building a responsive website, it's important that we put the viewport. Okay, so the viewport will set the width of the template of the website. So we're going to say meta, and we're going to give this meta a name attribute of viewport. And then that's also going to take a content attribute, and we're going to set the width. So we're going to say width equals, and we want to set it to the device width. Okay, so whatever device they're on, mobile device, tablet, which is, I guess, a mobile device, desktop, whatever it is, we're going to set it to that width. Alright, so you probably also want to have some SEO, so you want a description and keywords and maybe the author. So I'm just going to paste that in. Alright, so we have a description. I just said affordable and professional web design. We have the keywords, web design, affordable web design, professional web design. I'm by no means an SEO expert, so I don't know if that would be good or not, but it's just something to have for now. And then the author, you can put that in. I just put my name as the content. Alright, let's see. Let me just make sure these are indented properly. Alright, so that's it for the head. Let's go ahead and save that, and then we'll open it up in the browser. Okay, I'm using Chrome, and notice that in the tab we get Acme Web Design, welcome. If we look at the source code, everything is okay. Alright, so let's go back to Atom. And now we're going to start in the body, and we're going to take care of the HTML before the CSS. All right, so first thing is the header. So we're going to use the HTML5 header tag, just like that. All right, and if we take a look at the final product, we have the logo or the branding, and we have the nav. All right, so within these elements here, notice that they're in the middle, and you can see there's margin on the side here or some space on the side. What we want to do is create a class called container that we can wrap around inside of these elements to keep everything in the middle and keep them from going way over to the side, and also to keep them from, being aligned to the left. So let's go ahead and add a div in here with a class of container. Alright, now if you don't know the difference between class and ID, everyone is different, everyone has a preference. Some people don't even use IDs, they'll use classes for everything. But the general rule of thumb is that an ID is for something that is unique. Okay, so for instance, let's just say the showcase area. We're not going to have that showcase anywhere else on the page. Okay, or any other showcase element. We may have it on a separate page, but not in a different element. We're not going to have a showcase here and then a showcase here. So that would be something I would put in an ID. All right, because it's only occurring once. A class, however, is something that you're going to put over and over. So the container we're going to put in the header, we're going to put here in the showcase, down here. So that is going to go in a class. All right, so that's basically how I do it, but everyone's different. Alright, so let's see, in the header we have the container, then we're going to have this branding area. So we're going to put another div, and I'm going to give this an ID of branding because I don't plan to have this anywhere else. Alright, so in the branding you could put an image logo, but we're just going to put an H1, and we're going to say Acme Web Design. And then we have the nav over here, so we're going to go under that branding div, and we're going to put a nav tag. Okay, so this is strictly HTML5 right here, this nav tag. And then in the nav we want a UL, which is an unordered list, and that's what's used for menus. Inside the unordered list we want list items. Okay, so this will be the home link, so we need to put an A tag for the link, href, which is going to point to the page we want it to load, which is going to be index.html. Okay, and then the text for that link is just going to be home. Alright, so let's go ahead and copy that for the other links. So we have home, then we're going to have about, and we're going to have services. Okay, we'll just change these links. That'll be about HTML, and this will be services.html. Alright, so let's take a look at that so far. Okay, so that looks absolutely disgusting, but that's because we haven't added any CSS yet. Alright, so before we do the CSS, we're going to continue to add the markup. Now, if we look at the final website here, after the header, we're going to have the showcase area, which has an H1 and then a paragraph. So let's go ahead and add that. You want to make sure you go outside of the header, and we're going to put this in a section. Okay, so section, we're going to give it an ID because I don't plan to have any other showcase sections. Okay, so inside the showcase we also want the container because we want to contain it into the middle there. So let's say div class container. Okay, so in the container we're going to have an H1, and that's going to say affordable, let's see, affordable professional web design.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, follow, and subscribe to my channel for more tips, tutorials, and insight about programming. Stay tuned for more content and see you in the next video.